I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm basically a prophet at this point, a modern day Nostradamus, some would say. I'll explain in a second, but welcome to Ask MandR episode 332, no Ahsoka costume required, the series where I answer your questions. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, please drop it in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And why am I a prophet? Let's roll the clip.
I also really like the laser cannons on this particular ARC 170. Really clean design and unsullied by spring-loaded shooters, which they would certainly have put on here if this set was made in 2020. And I kind of fear for the future of a remake of this set that it will have a spring-loaded shooter kind of stuck in there, which is really gonna suck.
So as you can see, about 5 years ago, I knew everything we needed to know about the 2025 ARC 170. Now, reason number two, I'm literally Nostradamus, which I realize is a bad reference because half of you probably don't know who that is, but it comes in the form of two comments that show the duality of LEGO Star Wars fans, both from Ask MandR last week, of course. Simon says, Ryan, I owe you a big thank you. Your advice not to wait to buy the UCS AT-AT in your retiring sets video really paid off. I was able to grab one at 20% off at the beginning of the Insiders weekend, right at midnight. They were sold out shortly after that. Cheers. So W. Simon, listened to the advice, took advantage of a sale too, almost waited too long because it sold out right after. Some people got their orders canceled on the back orders, which really sucked, but that's not really the point of what I'm talking about. A little off topic. Because Indiana Jake says, man, you were right about the UCS AT-AT retiring. I should have listened to you. It went on sale and I missed it and now it's gone. Why didn't I just get it sooner? I'm so mad at myself. Bro, Jake, I feel so bad for you. You should have listened. Should have listened. It's just, yeah, that's what happens with some of these retiring sets. You just never know how many LEGO has in the warehouse, though, and that's a problem. Like, it can be as hyped as the AT-AT is and, like, one of the best sets ever, but if LEGO has 50,000 of them sitting around, well, yeah, they'll sell out slower. But, you know, that and the Cantina were pretty fast to sell out this year. Didn't even make it into the month of December. So I'm sorry about your misfortune, but I got a real kick out of reading those two comments, like, within a minute of each other. I was like, there's no way. Like, there's just no way. Anyway, first real question from a viewer comes from Ninja Rider. He says, why doesn't LEGO make any Separatist sets? Do you think we'll see any this summer in 2025? The potential's definitely there. You know, we've been waiting. We've gotten the gunship, we got an ATTE. I think people clearly want an MTT. I built my 2007 one recently, and I kind of realized, like, the next time LEGO makes an MTT, it's one of two things. It's either going to really suck, like 2000 and 2014, or it's going to be really great like 2007, and I do not believe there's an in-between. It's just the polar opposites, and that's it. Speaking about future sets, the tentpole topic on this series, Boomy Dog says, I'm worried about the Revenge of the Sith sets for next year, that they might be very disappointing, or at least the amount of them will be disappointing. And it's starting to feel that way. I'm starting to be slightly concerned. For the last 2 years, I would say, you've probably watched enough videos to know. If you're not, welcome, you're new here, whatever. I've been very hopeful for the Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary and what could be. Obviously, nothing is ever a guarantee with LEGO Star Wars. You just never know. But I felt like the demand had been pent up long enough and that everything was pointing towards Revenge of the Sith 2025, big, huge year. And the year has started out with some nice looking sets for the most part, but expensive. And I mean, at this point for the first half of 2025, I want to say there's like 15 or 16 sets, and only 2 of them seem to be from Revenge of the Sith, one of which, of course, Plo Koon's Microfighter, the other being the ARC 170. And the biggest takeaway that I had, you know, in regards to the anniversary potential for this year with that ARC 170 reveal was that there is no anniversary logo on the box, which to me just tells me that they're not celebrating the anniversary this year. Now, of course, when it comes to stuff like this, if you look at Attack of the Clones in 2022, that was its 20th anniversary. We got an Attack of the Clones set that year in the form of Obi-Wan's Starfighter or Interceptor. I am always going to flip-flop them, but the one from Attack of the Clones, and it did not have an anniversary logo on it. It turned out to be the only set from Attack of the Clones that year. It's entirely possible that we already know everything there is to know about Revenge of the Sith for 2025, which would be very disappointing given the build-up that I think we as fans have had. I guess that's part of being a fan, right? You just build yourself up for disappointment. It's just impossible to know right now because there's just no public rumors for what's coming out after June of 2025. There's still going to be a ton of sets coming out in August of 2025, and there very likely could be Revenge of the Sith themed stuff. Now, I'm working on my 2025 rumor update video, but there is another bit of news that is really disappointing in regards to the Revenge of the Sith anniversary, or maybe it's good for some people that don't like these types of sets, but dioramas, at least for 2025, according to Max over on Instagram, seem to be dead, which which means no Palpatine's arrest diorama, which I think ever since dioramas came out a few years ago, people have been like, oh, they have to do this. 2025, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm one of those people. It's going to happen 2025. That's why I've been probably saying on this series for 2 years is telling people, don't buy the one now. It's going to come out in 2025. They have to, right? They have to see the demand. I'm mildly worried about the Revenge of the Sith anniversary after probably being the person to hype it up the most over the past couple years. And rightfully so. It's a good anniversary. It's something to be excited about. I'm still going to make a ton of content about Revenge of the Sith next year. I still got everything lined up. I don't care if Lego makes sets on it or not. Well, I do care, but it won't change my excitement for like the movie and the content I'm going to make around it. It's just going to suck that there's not going to be a bunch of cool stuff to buy. So rolling into another kind of disappointing conversational topic from Bricks by Pat. He says, this question is perfect for the 332nd episode, and he's correct. He says, do you think we will ever get Captain Rex's Y-Wing as a full-size set in the near future? The rumor is that Plo Koon's Starfighter is not going to be like the full-size Starfighter. It is going to be a microfighter, just to be like super clear for people that might have missed it or didn't see like the 5 seconds where I talked about it. And it's a worrying trend between Captain Rex's Y-Wing and Plo Koon's Starfighter that some of these vehicles with characters that people have wanted for a long time are being relegated to microfighter status, which microfighters themselves have been relegated to like 1 per year, sorry, little subline status. Plo Koon's Starfighter as a microfighter would be really cool if it was like 2014 and they did 6 Jedi Starfighters as microfighters all at once. Like imagine that. That would make more sense to me than doing it as a one-off like this, especially again with the ARC 170 being a full-size set, and you could have that combo of sets that people obviously want, people obviously would desire. They knew well enough to put it on the box art, So it absolutely blows my mind in that regard. But to tie it back into the Captain Rex's Y-Wing question, I'm not super hopeful that we would get that as a full-size set in the near future because, like I said, they've kind of relegated some of these things to microfighter status. I know people have been asking for a lot of Bad Batch sets. I mean, at this point, would you be shocked that the next Bad Batch set we would get would be June of 2026 and it would just be some microfighter with Omega again? That just kind of feels like it's the direction Lego Star Wars is going with a few things, not holistically, obviously, but like once a year, it'll be like some super fan demanded like vehicle or figure, and it's just like, oh, it's only going to come in a measly, boring microfighter. For as much as Lego's at fault for saying that Rex would be exclusive to the Venator, Rex was undeniably a very expensive figure, and putting him in a cheap set is a good thing. I never would argue against that. Obviously, I have my opinions on saying something's exclusive and then pulling that rug. It's literally a rug pull. It's what Lego did to their own fans. But with Plo Koon, there's not like a huge fandom benefit to having it be a microfighter over like a $40 set, because I looked on Bricklink, Plo Koon's like a $10 figure already. In some cases, you might be paying more to buy the microfighter than just buy the Plo Koon figure as it's priced on Bricklink now. Of course, it'll be a new, slightly updated Plo Koon figure. Anyway, moving on, Trail says, starting the journey to collect every or as many as possible Star Wars minifigs, what is your opinion on the best way to go about doing this in regards of where to buy, which one's older versus newer to purchase first, new versus used? When displaying your figures, did you arrange by year, number, or character? So when I set up the figures that I bought just a collection all at once, so I didn't do anything particularly difficult other than just like having the money to buy it, so I didn't have to like go through the whole process of like, oh, find one here, find one there, which will be quite a process because I think there's like 1,400 figures. I set them up all in year by year order, and then within each year I basically tried to set them up by each movie, like so if it's episode 1, 2, 3, Clone Wars. Now when it comes to where to buy this sort of thing and in new versus used condition, I would always recommend new condition if you can afford it. It's just going to cost you a lot more money. I mean, I would just guess 20 to 30% more money on average just across the board. So you're going to be spending a good like another $10,000, $15,000. This is assuming you really want to go all the way and collect everything. You're looking at another $10,000 or $15,000 probably, maybe even more than that, of extra money spent to obtain all of these figures, right? And so maybe that's just not worth it for you, and you go for used condition. And in a lot of cases, used condition can be more than good enough, but in some cases it can be really bad. So you just gotta, pick and choose there. Now, if you are gonna buy new condition, I think you can buy anywhere. You can buy Bricklink, whatnot, eBay, etc., etc. If you're going to buy used, I would highly recommend not buying on Bricklink because you can't see the figure before you buy it. You can only go based on a little description if the seller even provides a description. So I think when you want to buy a used figure, whatnot, I think is really ideal because you can ask the seller about it. They can literally spin it 360 degrees. eBay is also very good for used stuff to buy because you can also like see a lot of pictures, possibly message the seller before you go and buy it. Hopefully that little bit of advice helps you. Moving on to our next question, which is not where I thought it would be. Rex, he says, how did your Whatnot Black Series stream go? I was unable to attend your Black Friday stream all day. So on Black Friday, I streamed for 12 hours. on Whatnot. It was actually absurd. And we sold way too much Lego, and we also sold my entire Black Series collection, bar like a dozen Black Series that I just couldn't help myself but keep. There's a few of them I just really like. Now I think all but like a few of the Black Series that I sold for a loss, which made me feel like an idiot. Like, I bought all of these things just over the course of a couple years, and I was like, ooh, this would be cool, this would be cool. And then they sat in boxes and sat in boxes and sat in boxes, and then I sold them for less money than I bought them for, which is not what anyone wants to do with anything, right? Everyone wants to sell something for more than they bought it for. I think the total money I got from like selling my Black Series collection was probably like $3,000. That's about how much value of Black Series that I had there. So not like life-changing, earth-shattering money to lose, but it just kind of sucked sitting there selling it all, being like, man, what a waste this whole side quest of my life was for Black Series. Now, I still like Black Series. I'll still collect a few from time to time, but clearly owning like 100 plus was not the move for me. I did not get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But yeah, it was cool for a while, and MandR Collects was a fun little side quest too. Moving on, Smeg says, hopefully Smeg, the names are very small. So if I ever mess up your name, by the way, it's because your name is really small on my screen. It says, ask MandR, have there been any LEGO Star Wars remakes that have actually been upscaled compared to the original, or at least stayed the same size, released in like the last 5 years, let's say? Okay, so we're really, yes. Oh, and then he goes and says, not including the ones that count. Yeah, so the Ghost, the Luke's Land Speeder, UCS, I guess, but the TIE Interceptor and the TIE Bomber are all very much the same size, if not a little bit bigger in some cases, some way, shape, or form. The Anakin Starfighter, the Ahsoka Starfighter that's coming out are very much the same size. They're definitely a little bit bigger and bulkier than these versions from 2005. So, like, you have cases like that where things are definitely upscaled or slightly bigger, or at least the same size. Then you have the Arc 170 that's just smaller, but it's not horribly smaller like the TIE Fighter, which is my favorite way to like say the set doesn't absolutely suck. Another interesting one I think people don't think about, the ATST is something they have yet to downscale. Every ATST has been bigger than the last. Exclude the UCS one and the mini ones. Just play scale ATSTs. We had the one in 2000, then the next one we got was 2007. Then in 2009, they completely changed the whole technique for the Battle of Endor set. Then I think the next one we got was 2016 with the ATST from Rogue One. Then we had the ATST from the First Order. Yeah, the First Order ATST doesn't count, but it's also still the same size. It just didn't have a head, but it's not downscaled. And then we had 2019's ATST Raider, and then the Hoth ATST, which like technically I think is a little bit skinnier, but like it's a completely different design for an ATST, so I don't count that as a downscale. That's one of the sets that has not been downscaled yet, but I actually think it needs to be. I think that set is too big. I'm sure that'll come back to bite us. Oh yeah, there was the 4+ set for that, and that sucked. Benjamin says, do you think the cost of sets on the secondary market have any effect on what LEGO charges for the new version? For example, the Arc 170 and Ahsoka Starfighter are expensive on the secondary market, therefore LEGO knows there's demand for a new version and can charge more. I guess it wouldn't shock me if these sets were both $5 or $10 more than they would have been in a complete vacuum otherwise, even with the Star Wars tax, because the previous version of Ahsoka's Starfighter from the Clone Wars is really expensive on Bricklink and eBay and whatnot, and so is the Arc 170, just super expensive sets to buy sealed in box, and pretty rightfully so. They're old, they're rare, they're sought after, it's kind of how it works. And also, of course, not a lot of people were investing in LEGO back then, for better or for worse, and so the prices of like newer sets don't go as crazy generally as they would on some of those older sets. And so I don't think in my heart of hearts that I believe LEGO is doing that specifically. I just think blanket across the board, LEGO Star Wars is just gonna be more expensive because it's LEGO Star Wars, and they're gonna wring out every penny they can from us as LEGO Star Wars fans with as little quality as they can put into it as possible. I mean, that's almost just a fact if you just look at what's happening. Liverpool fan has a punch to the gut here. He says, if the Plo Koon Starfighter was not a microfighter, would you have wanted it to come with Commander Wolf so then they could make a Wolf Pack? I'm so done with these name characters in battle packs. Battle pack. So yeah, I mean, a Plo Koon Starfighter, even if it was supposed to be Revenge of the Sith, you do Plo Koon with his astromech droid with Commander Wolf. That's what that set should be, to pair with the Arc 170 for $40 or whatever the price would end up being. That's overpriced. Like, that's amazing. Obviously, I think he should have the fixed helmet for a P2 figure for the Wolfpack Trooper. That would be, like, ideal there in my super ideal scenario. But, like, that's what I think the fans would have wanted with a set like that. And, of course, having a Wolfpack Trooper battle pack of sorts would also make a ton of sense to go hand in hand with the Commander Wolf and the Starfighter. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed, hit the like button. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, leave it down in the comments section below. And that's all I got for you, so let's blast off This is the lamest outro I've ever. Blast. What was I thinking?